What is up? So, as promised, we are coming back with a new video. I thought this would be a fun one because I get asked a lot, how do I do my research? Where do I get my information? And on and on and on. And we're gonna address that, but we're also gonna address how to spot bad information. What is credible, what is not. So, I did a little bit of homework. So, I pulled some books, and for the sake of something fun and something different, I decided that I was going to pull a sample topic, like a monster or a person or something, and use that and show a bit of a walkthrough on how I get all my information. Because take a sip anytime you hear me say information. It'll be a fun game. Okay, so for the sake of this, I thought Medusa would be a fun one. So, the way that I do my information is take a sip. So, I like to get most of my research from books. I'm very, very adamant about it. And anybody that's ever encountered me knows I'm really big about do your own research, do your own research, do your own research. I preach it 1,000 times. So for the sake of this, we're going to do Medusa. So we're going to take my Bible. This is not sponsored. I don't have sponsors because I am very pitiful. So this book, I highly recommend this book. I love this book. This is actually my second one, as my original copy is somewhere over there. And it is falling apart, and she had to be retired because I've had that book for like 10 years. Maybe more. Probably more. So, anyway, it's an awesome book. It's an encyclopedia. It has everything gods, monsters, spirits, da-da-da-da-da. And what is awesome about it, and I bookmarked it because I did not want to spend 5 minutes just flipping through stuff. All right. So, we have information on Medusa, origin, which is Libya. It gives you a bit about her, Medusa, the most beautiful and only mortal Gorgon sister. So that's a fun fact. So there was actually multiple Gorgons. It changes how many there were, but she was the only one that was mortal. Is a sea spirit. Poseidon courted her. She may have had consensual or even sacred with him in Athena's temple. Like, there's a lot of stories that go back and forth on whether it was consensual or non-consensual, but we're not going to get into that because that is not relevant to what we're doing here. So, it goes on about her getting transformed into a monster. It goes on about the Perseus story where he gets sent to kill her, which is really kind of Athena tying up loose ends. It goes to talk about snakes and their relation with her, how she may manifest, how she's portrayed in Icon. So she was actually, it was interesting because, she was a monster, but she was portrayed in a lot of stuff for protection. Like, very specifically, the head motif with the So, yeah, I think it's a really cool concept because she's made out to be this great big monster, yet she's something that is evoked for protection. Planetary relations, stars, creatures related to her, offerings that you can give. And the fun thing about this book that I love so much, it has a see also section. So it gives you things that are also related to her, like Athena, I'm sorry, it's a Greek word I can't say. I'm not that good with linguistics. Gorgons, Lady of the Beasts, Lilith, mermaids, Metis, Pallas, Poseidon. So, real cool thing. It gives you other stuff that you can look up that is related to this. So, we have one source, as it stands, of information and research. And it gives you other things that you can look at to further your research. Let's go to another book. This is actually a pretty fun read. I like getting the symbols books and the reference books and stuff like that because, one, they're illustrated and they show you like antiquity and stuff like that. You'll see as we get into the book. So, also a great thing about books is index. Index is your best friend because index will help you find stuff way faster than trying to read the book all the way through. Let's face it, most of us that do research don't do that. So, in this, it goes in to talk about the demon star and Algol, which I think was one of the references in that I didn't read off because I wasn't entirely sure I was saying it right. Still not entirely sure I'm saying it right. So, let's see if I can find it, because I bookmarked these. I did not highlight these. But we also have on here, the hero Perseus was able to slay Medusa by using a mirrored shield, and it was believed her slain head became the terrifying winking algal star, or the demon star. And, as I was saying about pictures, it shows you the sculptures, it shows you the location of the star. It's awesome, which the other book didn't give you. So, resource 1, resource 2. Let's go on to resource 3. Which this is an awesome book because this has your mythology in it, but it also has a really great index in it. If you ever wondered what I was bookmarking these with, tags. Alright, so we go into it again where it talks about Athena, and this one's cool because it mentions something that's not mentioned in a lot of the stories. Let's see. Now, Athena, stately goddess, invented the pipes. So, a lot of stories say that Athena invented, like the pan flute pipes. Invented the pipes to imitate the sweet, keening sound of the dirge the Gorgons made to mourn Medusa's death. Because, that's not, savage at all. I'm going to make an instrument that mimics her sister's mourning her death. Whew. We're not going to get into that, though, because even I know better than to talk too much shit about higher beings. She delighted in the reedy tone, stepping lightly in time. But as she was playing the pipes one day, she caught a sight of her reflection in a pond and hated the way she was disfigured by the straps that bound the pipes to her face. Away she hurled the loathed instrument, and it flew to Phrygia. There it was picked up by a satyr, Marsyas, who learned to play so sweetly that the clouds wept in the sadness at the plaintive melody. Okay, so that was yet another thing that we learned that was not in the previous 2 books, was about the reed pipes. So we're going to fast forward again. And this is a different section where it actually addresses the Perseus story. And how Perseus came to be, how he was sent to fetch the Gorgon's head. Now, a really cool thing about this was, so we knew about the Gorgons and we knew about the Gorgon sisters and everything. And I promise that I'll be getting back to the point of this video and not just like a big piece on Medusa, even though that will be fun. And if you want me to do that, I will. But another example is it talks about Perseus going to talk to the Graia, which were... It gets confused a lot that they're the Fates, but they're not. They are sisters to the Gorgons. And it goes on to say, when he was talking to Hermes, and they go on to, they're having a conversation. It's like, did you know that the Gorgons have sisters? They asked. If anyone knows a sister's weaknesses, it's another sister. You should find the Graia and compel them to tell you how to defeat the Gorgons. They told him about the 3 Graia. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. There's consistency there in Greek mythology. That numbers are subjective. They told him about the 3 Graia who had been born and lived as crones, hunched with age, as gray and chilling as the foam of the sea from which they came, and forestalled his next nervous question by giving him directions to find them. When Perseus reached the distant seashore where the Graia lived, he asked them at once for help. And it goes on that. Okay, so basically there's the sisters that have like the one eye and the one tooth and all that jazz. And they like to snack on men. So anyway, all our good monsters like to eat men. Maybe they were onto something. So the point being is that's a thing that you learned that wasn't in the previous books, that the Grey are the sisters to the Gorgons. So the point of all this is the more you read and the more sources that you go through, you can piece more of the puzzle together with your research. Now, I could Google Gorgon or I could Google Medusa, and it might give me a loose interpretation of the story or a writer's personal interpretation of the story, which when we start putting our own interpretations to things, we do fall into a little bit of a gray area on whether or not it's legitimate research, because then it starts becoming opinion rather than what is documented. So this is why I pride research in books more than research in Google. Now, don't get me wrong, Google has its place. Like, Google is a good way, like their encyclopedia book, to get us rolling on other sources of information, other things that may be related. Because it's like, for example, we found out about the Greya being sisters. So then you can Google the Greya and learn about them and the different stories. Because like this one said that they were old hags and had always been. In other stories, they're not old hags, but they're gray-haired. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so that is how we use that. And that's why whenever I do my research, no matter what it is, I put my sources on it, which also gives you into what is good research. So anybody can write a blog, anybody can write an article, anybody can write their own research. But if you don't have sources cited, you might as well be telling a story. Because the fact of the matter is you need to know where this information's coming from. Are you getting it? Because it's like if I get, let's say I Google something and I just find some random blog that gives me all this information. I'm like, okay, so then I take pieces of that and then interpret it as I will. Well, where did they get their information from? Did they get it from a credible source? So here's the beauty about books over the internet. Anybody can publish on the internet. Anybody can publish anything on the internet that they want. But to get published is very difficult to do. Like a actual marketable book is very hard to do. And if you talk to anybody that's written a book that tries to get published, yeah. So let's take our Greek myths book, for example. We have two writers on this. One is Robin Waterfield, and apparently Robin's wife helped on this book. So, but it's Robin's down as the primary author, so we're going to read about Robin. Is an internationally acclaimed scholar, lecturer, and author. His titles include translations of ancient Greek prose work and books on ancient history. His most recent books, Xenophon's Retreat, Greece, Persia, and the End of the Golden Age, Why Socrates Died, Dispelling the Myths, and Dividing the Spoils, the War of Alexander the Great's Empire. So, why is this important? Because obviously this is someone that's done their due diligence. This is somebody that has put in the work, that has gotten the education, that is renowned in their field. So that's important because these people really know what they're talking about, as opposed to some, let's say, 16-year-old baby witch that read a book and thinks they know what's up. Let's see if my other one has an about the author. Which, I mean, of course, you can always Google authors, too. Like, I got a book the other day that's just amazing. It's over there. I'm still working on it, so. But, come to find out, usually I buy books like, does it seem interesting? Does it look like they did the work? Am I going to get anything out of it? Because I'm not going to lie, I've got some books that are just for fun reading. Like, not anything that I would use for serious research. Like, I've actually got a whole row over here somewhere. Over there of Llewellyn's magical almanacs, and let's face it, those don't exactly have literary chops to them. And it's like Judika Illes. If you don't know who Judika Illes is, I'm very amazed, because Judika Illes is really a pioneer in the field, because she really does her work. She does her legwork. She does her research. She has made some great books. I have... Oh, they're on the bottom. You can't see them, but they're all this big. But hold that thought. So this is the book that I picked up the other day. I don't know if all of this will film in the right direction, just to be clear. But it's called Mysteries of the Werewolf, Shape-Shifting Magic and Protection. It was literally published this month. But I did not realize when I bought this, which was a very expensive book. This is a very expensive book, just so you know. For something that is only 200-ish pages, it's a very expensive book. But, so the author is very French. I'm not even gonna, it's Le Cassou? I don't know. He's French. His name is Claude. That's all we're gonna work with right now. He is a professor of medieval literature and civilization at the Sorbonne. He is author of numerous books on medieval and pagan afterlife belief and magic. So this dude's a professor. Not only is he a professor, but he's like a long-time professor. But I did some Googling on him after I got the book. And this is where Google was beneficial, because I found out apparently I have several books by him. Because I always, I go for my content and everything, and not specifically authors, but obviously if I got several books from the same author, they're probably a pretty good author. And I'm kind of judgy when it comes to material. So, look into who's writing this stuff. Look into where the sources are coming from. Books are always gold, because it's very hard to get published, especially if you're getting published by someone other than Llewellyn. Don't get me wrong, Llewellyn has its place. I am not knocking them as a publisher, because they really throw bones out there. They've really put magical and supernatural research to the forefront, which is awesome. However, they do have a little bit of a tendency to publish some fluff. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's fluff. It's fluff that's meant to really wow people and entertain people and what have you. But I mean, they have their place, but it's one of those take with a grain of salt, because they do mass publish a lot of stuff. So books good, blogs, I mean, if they're citing sources, that's good, because then you can go back and double check and see if they took the information for what it was, rather than, put their own flair onto it. Now, let's talk about something else. What does and does not make good information? Now, I run into a lot of people will claim certain things or claim to be certain things that just don't exist. And I feel like we have fallen into this whole, if you believe it, we have to accept it. No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have to accept it. I have full freedom to not believe in something. And I will always have full freedom. And so does everybody else. Because it's you have people that don't believe in the supernatural, that don't believe in magical creatures and all that. And that's all well and good. I am not in the business of convincing people. I never have been. I never will be. I am not in the business of convincing people. I am in the business of educating people. And if my educating people entails that I have to tell you that you're wrong, then I will. Because the way that I see it is, I would rather correct bad information in its tracks, rather than let bad information spread and grow and turn into something else, and then become this toxic fad, which happens a lot in the supernatural community. A lot. A whole lot. Because, I mean, if you've been around for as long as I have, you have seen trends. There's always trends. Recent trend was this whole, I'll name a couple of them. specifically on witch talk. And I'll be very clear. I hate TikTok. I hate TikTok very, very much. And I was recently recommended to me that I should join TikTok because of the popularity of it. I hate TikTok so much. If you see me on TikTok, I have been body snatched. But anyway, that is not me. It's like some really convincing mimicry. But neither here nor there. There was the whole baby witches hexing the moon and the fae. And there was a whole like mirror magic thing. Like, and inviting like your reflection self to dinner. That was a whole thing. Like, both of these things are really stupid ideas. They're stupid ideas. And I'm not gonna lie, like myself and all these other like older seasoned people in the whole magic community, we were like, okay, let's see how this goes. Because let's face it, like, what makes you think that you have the oomph to hex celestial and divine beings? Like, what made you think that was a good idea? And like, I'm gonna tell you, like, don't be messing with mirrors. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have experience, don't be messing with mirrors. But these are really good examples of bad information spreading because someone got a wild hair up their butt and decided that, oh, this is a good idea. This makes sense to me. I'm going to share it with everyone. Somebody didn't do their homework, and then a bunch of other somebodies didn't do their homework. And this is why doing your research is important, because when you just take things at face value like that, you set yourself up to get hurt. You set other people up to get hurt with just sheer irresponsibility. So, yeah, do your research. And you don't have to accept things at face value. You don't even have to accept this at face value or anything that I document or record. But the fact is a lot of people do. And one that I run into a lot is people being, how do I want to word this? Made up things. One real popular one was Wolf Bloods. The TV show, yes, you heard that correctly. So they were under, like, I've actually run into this one several times. These kids think they're wolf bloods and they think they have fangs and they think they have black veins and stuff like that. It's a whole thing. But here's the thing. I don't believe in wolf bloods, and I never will, because I know that it's made up. I know that it is fiction. I know that it comes from a TV show. But this is the way that I challenge everybody. If you want to believe that, believe that. But if you want me to believe that, show me something. Show me some historical text that talks about wolf bloods. Show me some documentation. Give me a really good theory. I'll even accept a good theory, something that makes sense, something that is logical. Like, if you can explain it to me in a way that is plausible, I'll give you a pass. And I've given this challenge to anyone. If you can show me documentation or give me a really good solid theory, I'll accept it as plausible. But if you can't do that, then you have nothing. And if you were like, well, I know my reality. I know my truth. I know my experiences. Okay, that's nice. But if you want other people to believe your experiences, you need to come with something, because nobody has to take you at face value. You don't have to take people at face value. It is perfectly okay to be like, you know what? I'm not buying what you're selling. That's okay. If they believe it and you don't believe it, that's okay. You are not obligated to believe people. You're not obligated to believe me, and that's fine. Like I said, we're not in the business of convincing people. We're in the business of educating people. So, we are coming up on 25 minutes, and hopefully this video will not take an hour to upload. But yeah, like, read your books. Read your books. And if you want to read online information, that's fine, but make sure you know where it's coming from. So we were going to quickly touch on What is believable? What isn't? Like, what makes it reality? So, does it have documentation? Does it exist in a historical context? Does it exist in a scientific context? Does it exist in any context besides media entertainment? I wish I was making this up, but I've actually had people claim to be Saiyans, like Dragon Ball Z. Yep. I've had people claim to be, what was it? I think it's called a Lombax, the weird alien cat thing from Ratchet and Clank. I've had people claim to be those. I mean, I had one try to say that they were Kryptonian. Yep, Superman. They're Superman. But obviously these things are for entertainment purposes. And just because you believe it doesn't make it true. Just because you want it to be true doesn't make it true. So do your research. Don't take things at face value. Be discerning. Be skeptical. These are healthy things. These are things that mean that you're thinking for yourself. Like if you're skeptical and then you want to read into it, let's say you want to learn more about it, that's awesome, because that means that you actually want to educate yourself on it. Even if it's a dead end, at least then you know it's a dead end. So read our books, look for sources, be discerning, take things with a grain of salt. TikTok sucks. People make up different animals, creatures, aliens, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't mean you have to believe it. You don't have to believe what someone's selling if you don't want to. So don't feel obligated to. And I hope this gives you a really good foundation to doing your own research, how I do my research, how I get my information, why my information is great. But I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoy the video. As always, feel free to recommend stuff, make suggestions, as long as they're not rude. Ask questions. I'm always available. And I mean, if you like the video, like it. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. Y'all have a good night. Okay, my clicker doesn't work worth a shit, so we're just going to hit it.